serious?
We're back. We tried to do a dramatic effect and then it didn't work out. I knew
At all. I knew he was too goofy to do it.
Yeah, but Kendall, we're back.
Yeah, man. We got a lot to talk about. A lot to kind of unpack. Where we want to start?
I mean, I think we have to start with what we learned. Well,
where have we been?
Intro, body, outro. Body. Where have we been?
Yeah.
Well, we've been working.
That's true. We have.
You've seen us at the games. We've been working.
Yeah. Athletic department definitely. The job never stops. That's for sure.
And we're still
students. Yeah, that too.
That never changes.
That too.
Until next May. But overall, we have been in a, how do I put this? A battle for our who this platform belongs to. Mm-hmm. Without saying any names, it was a struggle for about, really longer than a month, but over the last month or two, month and a half.
Yeah. It's I think it was always something that was ultimately gonna happen.
It was brewing.
But I think now that it's kind of reached its peak, I think that, and we have time to reflect on it. I mean, we haven't been on in a month and
we missed basically the whole football season.
That's what it felt like. But yeah, it's been a lot going on. I think it's been a lot. I think ultimately it's been a lot. A lot of people, been shouting us out, been telling us they miss us and all of that type of stuff. And I think ultimately, y'all community, this community that we built, that means everything to us, especially, going through something where it's not like we wanted to not produce content for y'all. But, like I said, that's over. Mm-hmm. We're back. I'm glad to be back. So, so on to the next thing.
So Kendall, the biggest thing, what did we learn from this whole process? Or where have we been? Or not where have we been, but give us how you're feeling right now. How are you feeling most important? Because that's what we talking about questions, but how are you feeling?
Yeah. I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be back. I think this process definitely taught me a lot about, having something that you care about and taking advantage of it, mm-hmm. or taking it for granted. And I think I took this for granted. I took this space. I took us. I took all of this for granted. And I think now I have an opportunity to recognize and realize what this all means. I miss the community. I miss the fun, the laughs. Actually getting to sit down and talk about our takes about games, our talks about this, our talks about that. And ultimately, I think it taught me that you always have to respect and have to enjoy the moments because you never know when they're going to be your last.
Right.
We didn't know what was going to happen with this podcast. I mean, obviously we were fighting for it. Obviously we wanted to be back here, but ultimately it was one of those things that we didn't know if that was going to be the case. And it hurt, looking at all the progress, looking at everything that we've done. It hurt not to have that. It hurt not to be able to produce content anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it taught me the most. I think that's what I learned.
How do I feel? I feel like like you said this before we got closer from it. Mm-hmm. There were moments when we had to. One of us was up here about it, one of us was down here, and then it was like a seesaw. So our emotions were changing about it because there were so many different outcomes. Even the possibility was having to start something else. Mm-hmm. And I've said it before. There's no doubt in my mind that we continue to support, but losing something that we had dedicated so much to. I got a freshman walk up to me that said, "I've been watching y'all since I was in high school." Like, you feel old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm not old. You're older than me by a couple of days. But just hearing stuff like that, it's like, wow, we're really making an impact. Mm-hmm. We made an impact not only in this athletic department, but with the athletes, all the different people. And we're appreciated more than we really know. I didn't realize when we started it, I knew that we could get big, but I didn't realize how many people were really gonna gravitate to us. Like, realize that we are storytellers. It changed my perspective on the whole thing. We're different. Our vision at the beginning has transitioned to something completely different now. I don't think that you had envisioned us interviewing players when we first started this podcast. Did you?
I mean, nah. I think ultimately it was just really about sitting in front of the camera
and talking about sports.
Like I didn't. I wanted to get that down before anything else. So that was kind of where my mind was at. Like I feel like I kind of started on a basis, a ground level, and then like you said, it just kind of caught fire. We started doing things that I think I didn't think I was gonna be able to do, and it just kind of went from there.
And we're better now than we were then, by far. Like
absolutely.
You just got done doing the show. I did the coach show Monday. People call us to do things now and do, be in certain situations that we were never comfortable with then. Like we've grown so much since then. And thank you to all the people who have supported us throughout the time, because there were a lot of alums, staff members, coaches that wanted to see, that wondered what would happen to us. Yeah. So, we hope y'all can see that support for us and support us even more as we move forward. So we got some more great content. Kendall got some great ideas. I got some great ideas. We're going to do a website. We're going to do all kinds of things. And we're going to bring the athletes on the show. Because through that time, yes, we weren't on camera, but we were building relationships with some athletes and learning different stories. So the more we've been working with these athletes, the stories we've heard, the interaction we've had, we're closer with a lot of them. Shout out to the volleyball team. Shout out to everyone's Texas weekend. But our relationship with them has grown. And it's also given us the opportunity to watch sports that we didn't have the opportunity to watch over the last 2 years. We never had the opportunity to really sit down and watch a full soccer game and watch multiple of them, or volleyball as well. So sitting down and actually getting to experience that stuff, it hit a little bit different, and we have a better perspective on these sports now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think anytime that we're both believers in God, believers in Christ. So like we kind of think about these things in a situation where you don't have this stuff gets taken away from you. How do you respond to that? And I think now it's like we have an opportunity to use everything that we had in the time that we haven't been doing this,
right?
To propel this podcast even further, to do things that we never could do before, that was rough before.
Because to a degree we were restricted. The things that y'all want to see us do, we wanted to do them, but for one reason or another, we couldn't do it. Whether that be from work, being control to for lack of a better word, or whatever the case may have been. We want to do this. We want to bring these athletes on the show, these coaches on the show, and it's there's a greater good in every storm. Like there's a reason that God takes you through everything that you do. This may have been a season for us to learn about the importance of branding, laws, and all that kind of stuff, but contracts and building relationships. Those relationships that we built with the people in the athletic department, all the players, that was the biggest lesson I've taken from, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think
one of them. Sorry.
I think I definitely agree with you on that for sure. I think contracts and intellectual property and copyright and all of that type of stuff is definitely something that I learned throughout this process. I would love to have a situation where we could talk to other people about it, about that process, just what that process looks like. And kind of just getting that creative content literacy and building that for other people as well. So I would definitely love to have that discussion even further.
To all the content creators out there, if you have your content, make sure it's yours. Own it. Sign a contract. Whatever you gotta do to make sure that it's yours.
Read whatever you sign.
Read. In the words of Travis Jerome, reading is fundamental.
Shout out to Travis. So I think anytime that you talk about, being gone for so long, the first question that people have is, all right, where have you been? But I think the second question is, do y'all actually care about this? Like, what exactly does this podcast mean to you?
So I think that to me it means not only exposure for us, but exposure for university, because that was what this podcast is built on, anyways. You wanted to do this, and I wanted to do this to highlight the stories that are within these athletes. When we talk about an athlete coming from a struggle, coming from a single parent home, or coming from poverty, or something of that case. Telling those stories, because those are success stories. To go from whatever situation you came from to a Division I program and potentially getting drafted, or whatever the case may be. Like, for example, who's the lineman that went here, Titus Howard. His story needs to be told. It should have been told. If we would have been here to tell that story, that was talking about a walk-on. Coach Robinson, who was a walk-on. and made it to the NFL and, you know, played in the Super Bowl. Those type of stories need to be told. So what we talk about this podcast means to me, we're bringing everything together. We're filling a void that we both felt was missing at this school. And I think that we've done everything we can, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to highlight, you know, the stories and the athletes and the teams that need that exposure.
Absolutely. I think another thing for me, and this is a little bit more selfish than what you said, but I share your same sentiments though. I think this podcast was my first real introduction into doing something that was fully me. Obviously, you know, I've written for a school newspaper. I've done certain things for. I worked for the Hawks. I did all of these different things. I've done, you know, different shows and things like that for sports broadcasting. But this was like the first time where I really felt like I can talk about sports. I can use my knowledge of games. I can use my knowledge as an athlete in order for me to really like be good at this. This wasn't something that was easy for me at first. It's still not necessarily an easy thing for me now. I mean, if we were to show you guys the bloopers and things like that, you would see I mess up all the time.
Yeah, we messed up trying to do the show on Monday.
Facts, exactly. But I enjoy that. Like, I love that. I love getting to grow and experience things that I never got to do before. I'm still kind of reeling from not being an athlete anymore. That's still something that I'm adjusting to even now.
You said this is coping for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, covering sports as a whole was something that I didn't necessarily want to start this early. You know, I did have plans to be a D1 football player. I had been preparing myself to do that. But ultimately, you know, God had a different plan for me. And, you know, after I was coming off of COVID for those 6 to 7 weeks, and after, you know, doing all of the stuff that I had to go through, when I covered my first football game, like, it was emotional. It was an emotional thing for me because I had spent all of my time thinking about coming out of that tunnel.
Right.
On the ASU's stadium, on the ASU's field. Like, I had envisioned that so many times, and it got taken away from me. And at first, you know, I was reeling. Like, I didn't know what to do. And then, obviously, like I said, I started writing for sports. But then once we got on this podcast, it was like, all right, like, this is something that I can be good at. But it's going to take work. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort.
And I mean, the people who, if you look at some of the people who are in this business, most of the people like the Stephen A. Smiths, the Shannon Sharps, people like that, either they were an athlete at some point, or they're someone who just didn't make it to the collegiate level or the professional level to a bigger extent. So that's most of our business. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think overall I do think that this podcast gives me an opportunity to be myself. It gives me an opportunity to work on a lot of my skills. I don't know how much like employers or how much, you know, certain people who get me into certain positions look at this podcast in particular as part of my portfolio. But in my opinion, this is basically the best marketing you could do. I mean, because we edit this, we produce this, we make the graphics, we do all of these different things. You know, we put in the work to get this way. We think of the ideas. I mean, in all honesty, it wasn't anybody really posting full-on press conferences before we started doing it. At least not to our knowledge. You know, there may be some people, but
shout out to Mistake Sports.
Absolutely, Hornet Sports Network. All that. But that's one of the things that got us on the map. I mean, bro, we've been in Bleacher Report. We've been in Sports Illustrated. You were to tell me we were gonna do that when we first started, I wouldn't have believed you. But getting to that point, reaching those peaks and going through those valleys, like, all of that has gotten us to this point. And I want to enjoy the moment. I want to enjoy this time because you never know when it's going to be taken away from you, like I said earlier. But ultimately, if I were to sum this podcast up in one word, it would be passion. I'm passionate about sports. I'm passionate about storytelling. I'm passionate about this. And to have it back is irreplaceable.
Right. I mean, we've said this all the time, but you don't appreciate stuff until it's gone. Whether that be people, when people transition to the afterlife, or, you know, just anything, life in general, experiences, you don't appreciate till it's gone. And that's unfortunate, but you have to do that to, you know, to really appreciate things. But sometimes it's necessary. That's what God does. You know, He teaches you a lesson. And I think that we both learned the lesson of, no matter how tired we are, and both of us could very well go to our room right now, go take a nap.
For sure.
It's been a lot going on this week, and there's still a lot more to come.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're tired, when we're exhausted, headache, sick, we just gotta come here and provide for these people, provide for the school, because we're not just doing it. It's bigger than us at this point.
Absolutely.
This is bigger than us. This is bigger than us as individuals. At one point, this was all we had to market on our resume.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have other things. So now people see that we can do other things. Like you said, if it came down to it, I want an employer to look at this. Because this is where I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and thoughts, and stress into this.
Mm-hmm.
Especially moving forward. Because there's going to be a lot more to come. Obviously, you got the coach show, all this stuff. So the coach show is going to help us with this. I'm not going to get the next thing what I'm about to say. I think you know what I'm about to say. You know what I'm thinking?
Pretty sure I do.
I'm not gonna say that. But overall, I mean, I'm excited to be back, and it's gonna be some great content coming. You got anything else to say though?
Hey man, I'm looking forward to it. If I've learned anything, it's talk less, act more. So I'm not gonna tell y'all everything that we got planned, but trust and believe it's gonna be some good stuff. Can't wait to get to it.
New year, new me. Same deal.
We still got them. Y'all heard what he said. Y'all heard what he said.
All right, thank you for tuning in to this episode. Make sure you tune in to this upcoming episode. I'm sure we're going to talk about some football because there's a lot to talk about with that. Like, comment, subscribe. Instagram, Wildcard2K. Twitter, Wildcard2K. God, it's been a long time since I said that.
I'm surprised you didn't want to take it. My man.
But like I said, like Kendall said, less action, less talk, more action.
I knew you was gonna mess up the quote. Hey y'all, that's a wrap for us. We'll see y'all later. Bet.